notes.
What's up? What's clacking and lacking? Welcome to episode 2 of the... What are we calling this? We don't know
I don't
yet,
know. I
right?
think we're toying around with Nerds to Men.
Yeah. So we'll figure out a name, but welcome to episode 2. It is a little after 10 p.m. here on the East Coast, a little past 9 where our good old Paul is. Do you know where your children are? Probably not. Well, I hope you do
I
because we are in a
I
pandemic.
do know where my children are. It's called the future. The very it's where I like to
So
keep them. A constant state of future.
there you go. Just a thought, if there is any, a twinkle in your eye, as you would say. But the voice that you hear is our very own Paul of Paul Programs. What's up, Paul?
Hey everybody, how you all doing tonight?
We're doing great. Okay.
I
We're
imagine
really
there's like hundreds of
enjoying.
people on the chat right now and like
Yes, we're loving the show right now. Keep it up. Don't stop. Exactly.
Oh,
Cool. So it's been 1 week since our last show, right? And some news dropped. But before we start off with that, I think I like how we started off last time when we go around the room, in the room meaning just you and I, and seeing what have we been up to? What have we been playing? Have we been watching anything? So by all means, go right ahead and start.
so yeah, on my end, yeah, let me just. So again, I've been streaming Mass Effect, lots of Mass Effect 1. I actually started playing Destiny 2 again. Helped you and the crew pretty much get
Yeah.
through a single segment of the raid, and I was just like, yeah, that's my fill for the raid. I'm good.
Before you bowed out.
I was just like, oh, Zero's on. He started the raid. It's really just right that I sacrifice and let him finish the raid.
Right.
And then just my usual wake up every morning, do my usual Animal Crossing stuff, dig some holes, shake some
Mm-hmm.
trees, get my quick money. Um,
Nice.
Watch people play the stock market, aka turnips, because that's
Right.
actually fun news about that today is Danny Trejo just showed off his on Twitter today.
Oh, very nice. It is interesting how you're now seeing a lot of these celebrities pop in and out. Last week you had Elijah Wood buying some turnips from somebody. Now you have Danny Trejo. I mean, who's next? Are we going to see maybe Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen building a house together?
I would love to see Ryan Reynolds on it. I feel like Ryan Reynolds is like the next one that would be on
Hmm.
it, but he'd do some things that you shouldn't do on it.
Right, right,
Like
right.
where Elijah Wood's like the greatest gentleman in Animal Crossing, we have like Ryan Reynolds, who's the greatest Ryan Reynolds on Animal Crossing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and then in terms of just watching stuff, actually caught up on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So been watching that show for years now. Love it. Great comedy. Good diverse cast. I mean, it's just a bunch of good actors anyway. Andy Samberg, Terry Crews, like everyone just on the show is really like good. And then I gotta actually catch up on The Last Dance. I didn't miss the last two episodes. I have them DVR'd, but I gotta
Hmm.
catch up on those before next Sunday because it's so tough though. Like you said, it's just like you wanna kind of enjoy it and not have to wait a
Yeah.
full week. So I'm kind of glad I
Hmm.
missed it Sunday, but then it's just like when I do catch up, it's gonna be like I gotta wait again.
Yeah, I was lucky enough that I finally watched it. When did I see it? I saw it, what, Tuesday night, maybe? And at first I thought, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you because you haven't seen it yet. But it is funny how they focused one episode on one person, and then when the
Hmm.
fourth episode started, it kind of picked up from there, but then it quickly switched to going over a different person, and it was kind of brilliant the way they did it, where the two people that they covered in episode 3 and 4 were pretty much tied together because of
Yeah,
you know their relationship and all that kind of stuff like that. So I thought that was like pretty well done.
nice. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
gotta check that out. Super excited. I know, I have a feeling I know who one of the people were because I feel like the NBA put a highlight clip about him like the day after,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which, man, he used to dive for some crazy stuff. I mean,
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
we can say who it is. I mean, it's Rodman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
we knew an episode about him was coming.
yeah. I mean, and they weren't really hiding it either. I mean, like you said, the day after, like the NBA was like releasing stuff. Other outlets were releasing things,
Yeah,
kind of like highlight reels of like Rodman's plays and all that stuff like that. And
exactly.
I remember those days. I mean, those days were crazy. I mean, having him dive into the audiences all the time, and
At
really,
least the audiences.
yeah, but really like punishing his body just to get rebounds and defend. So I mean, he was good at it, and he was one of the best.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, definitely good to see.
yeah, man.
Anything else or?
I mean, last thing's just been just skilling, like learning some new Unity stuff, and just working on some mobile development. It's been a while, so just been working on just building some quick like test like demos and stuff in
Mhm.
like Android and through Unity, through both of them basically.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yep.
Nice. Well, yeah. So for me, like I said, like I watched The Last Dance finally on Tuesday night. Still streaming Final Fantasy VII Remake. Not try not to go too much into it because
Yeah,
if
you're
you
getting to the good part. I know where you are. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and if you follow me, you already know like I've been pretty much documenting everything I do. But today I did finally play Predator Hunting Ground for the first
yeah.
time.
Nice.
I was very curious about this game
Yeah.
ever since I saw the trailer and all that stuff like that. And it looked interesting. And I never was one who played like these short, very quick match type games,
Yeah.
kind of like Friday the 13th, or there were so many other. Now you have Resident Evil who put out one,
Yeah.
so it was like really my first time since probably Counter Strike back in the day when you would just do like those quick matches and all that. And I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And it is what it is, like a match will last you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, real quick, depending on how well your team is or how well as you as the predator is.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Nice.
It's the controls are a little janky at times, and I feel like it moves really fast, like really really fast.
Wow.
And if you have a team that really doesn't know what they're doing, it can get a little confusing because they don't have a lot of call outs either.
Oh.
You have to really pay attention to like the briefing that they give you in the load screen,
Yeah.
because there are many times where I was running around the bases, figuring out what are we supposed to activate, what are we supposed to turn off, what are we, no one's paying attention, and all of a sudden we're getting shot by like AI. Army guys, and then of course here comes the predator, and I just see the beam come in and like, and I was like, oh no, run! So if you want some good reactions of me like running and hiding and all that, you should definitely check out the replay.
Oh yeah, man. I
Um,
didn't get to check it live today. I wanted to, but things came.
it's all good. I think this is a game that I will stream from time to time because it's a good time killer.
Yeah.
It's like if you were playing this on your own, and you had like an hour to spare,
Yeah.
and you wanted like maybe a break from something you were already playing, or you wanted to do something real quick before you went to bed or something like that, you could just pop this game in, play maybe three quick matches, and then you're good, right? Um, the only thing I will say is that obviously everyone wants to play the Predator, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like the coolest thing to do. And it is pretty cool once you get the hang of it. But there is a queue to go into matchmaking if you are to be a Predator.
Oh
So
wow.
what I was experiencing was that there was a 6 minute queue if you wanted to play the Predator, but if you wanted to just be on a fire team, it was 30 seconds. So, so you can see how fast these matches were going,
Yeah.
but it sucks because it kind of dictates it forces you to play a certain way if you don't want to wait,
Yeah.
So if you really want to play the Predator, you better be ready to wait 6 minutes or so. And this was in the afternoon. so I could only imagine how it would be at night.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of lack of servers or lack of matches altogether, but
Yeah.
that was the only downside. That and like I said before, the controls and all that.
Yeah. So that could also be a fun game to pick up and play with some friends. That'd probably be
100%. I totally thought about that as I was playing. I was like, if we can get our group of friends into it, like it's a good break from the Destiny nonsense and the whatever anyone else is playing.
yeah.
Like one of the guys we play with, he's very big into like Apex Legends and all that, so I
Yeah.
could see him getting into it. And it's then and again it has that nostalgia where like you are
Yeah.
playing from an 80s action movie, and
Exactly.
all the quotes you can say during the
Do it
game. There is a
now.
yeah, there is a part where you have to the game ends getting to the chopper. So you have to get to the chopper to get out of there.
I mean, that's the only
And
way I would expect to end the match as an army guy. It's like
yeah.
if you're not getting to the chopper, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I will say though, there was one great moment. I only played the Predator 3 times because it was just taking way too long to queue it up. But I went ham, and they killed me. But I was able to turn on my self destruct, and they didn't know how to stop it. And I took 2 guys out with me.
Suckers.
And that was my proudest moment as a predator. And as the thing is going off, he's like laughing, like ho 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 ho, like that. And then I hear them like scrambling, like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And then when it goes off, the match is over. That
Yeah.
means they didn't win.
Yeah.
So they at the end you hear the chatter, and you can hear it on the video. There's this one guy is like, yo, that was crazy, man. They should make a movie out of this game. And and then one other dude was like, "Bro, are you serious right now? I thought this game was based off of a movie."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those Friday the 13th devs have really found like their niche when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
games, like
Oh yeah.
recreating these like movies as competitive
Yeah.
games.
Yep. Yeah. No, it totally works, and I get it. I can see why people loved Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
One of our friends was really into it for a very long
Oh
time.
yeah. He's still into it. As soon as it came out on the Switch,
Nice.
he
Nice.
jumped back in. He couldn't resist.
He couldn't stay away, huh?
Oh,
Yeah, but I get it. I mean, it's quick fun, not much to unlock as far as like I mean, you have your weapon unlocks and all that, and they have those annoying loot crates that you get, but that unlocks like shaders and
I
all that stuff like
got
that,
used to that from Overwatch when I played Overwatch on the PC long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. So you have all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think at $40, it's
Wow.
okay. It's not that bad, but there's a lot of people who probably won't
Yeah.
want to spend that much money on it. $30, I can see it being a better value, and I could see more people jumping in on that.
Wait, one more month, 2 more months, get those $20 crazy 50% deals.
Yep, for sure, absolutely, yeah,
It's like the PlayStation Store right now offering like crazy deals on Japanese games.
yeah, yeah. I do have what was that one that we were talking about the other day? It's that Sega game, the one that's like Sleeping Dogs.
Oh, Judgment?
Judgment, yeah, without the E. Um,
Well, I learned that we dropped the E from US history back in the 1800s.
right,
It's
right,
like, don't
right,
need
yeah,
this anymore.
yeah. Who needs proper spelling? Come on.
I've been spelling it with the E my entire life. That's what threw me off. It's just like, wait, what?
Yeah. Oh well. For shows you how much we know, right?
US education system. Just- I know why the
Cool.
British don't like our English.
I know for sure. But yeah, I know we have some topics we wanted to cover. You could see some of the topics I put in the description and on the title. But before we dive into that, please make sure to follow click the like button and subscribe. That definitely helps in this space that we're in right now. You do have the social media addresses amongst the respective cameras there. As you can see, there's Paul and his Twitch and Twitter.
Yay.
Um, and something that would be great and interesting for you guys to do, even though we have our set topics to go over, if there was anything you wanted us to talk about off the cuff, feel free to drop in a donation for as
Forever with the
little as
chats.
yeah, for as little as $1. You can go ahead and interrupt our flow and pretty much like pick any topic, and we'll be more than happy to talk about it, even if we don't know anything about it. We'll make something up. We'll make it sound interesting. But you could go over to streamlabs.com/LowKeyGeek1 because someone else had my name. How dare they? But yes,
Why
LowKeyGeek1,
not
and there's no.
0? Could have been better than 1.
They didn't let me choose it. They just assigned it to me automatically, and they don't have a help section. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's that for now. But I know one of the first things we wanted to talk about, which made the news last week, and we didn't have a chance to talk about it because obviously it happened
Yeah.
after our show, was Nintendo. They are one of the many companies that got hacked as of recently. I believe the account was 150,000 accounts. Is that right?
It was 160 when I last checked. So
160.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it entails some user or group of users that got access to a lot of the usernames, I believe. Nothing too crazy as far as credit card numbers and all that, but they do have your information about email addresses, your purchase history, and all that stuff like that. So if they had access to your account, they could have went in there and started buying a bunch of stuff for you. So in
Yeah.
a way, it's like they're giving you a present
With your own card. And that's
with your own
why
money.
I always password lock it.
Yeah, just like a good marriage,
Yeah.
So yeah, what were your thoughts on all that?
I mean, it's crazy that these companies in this day and age, it's because Nintendo was one of the few to not do two-factor, and so that you
Hmm.
think they'd have learned from all the other companies and their peers who have gone through the same thing and did two-factor, and it's just like, oh hey, we just put together two-factor real quick because oops. It's like, oh, oops, thanks guys. Like, do you know if it included passwords too?
I think from what I read, it might have. I think the word from Nintendo was just make sure you updated everything. So I'm pretty sure it does include passwords,
Yeah.
because they did say that there were possibilities that you could see purchases within your account, and I would imagine that the only way to do that was having
Yeah.
them log into your account and just buying stuff. So yeah, I think your face pretty much says it all.
Yeah. I mean, that and then between like the other news today where they're closing a bunch of like Wii U and 3DS stores on other like regions, it's like, yeah, Nintendo, you're having a slight rough news cycle right now.
Yeah. But I mean, I will give it to them. I mean, they were pretty quick to address
That's
it,
true.
and they rolled out that quick change to their login. But it's just unfortunate that they had to wait for something big like this
Yeah,
to happen in order for them to do something like that when everyone else was already doing
exactly.
it.
I mean, again, you're right. They were quick about it, much quicker than places like Facebook.
Right.
The
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
biggest culprit of them all.
Yeah. I think they were still in denial on all that stuff when it happened, but
No, just because other people were logging your account doesn't mean we've been hacked. It's like,
right.
oh, so it's happening to a million people. That still doesn't mean we've been hacked yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a million compared to how many people are on Facebook. Oh, that's such a small drop in the
It's only
bucket,
1%.
Just like Corona. Anyway, uh, we will not get into any political talk right now. No need to. Let's just have fun.
Yeah, that's
Let's just talk about the
look.
good stuff.
Everyone's stressed enough. That's why it's important just to have fun and talk bad about things like Stadia. There it is. All right, I'm done. got
There,
my
you
one in.
mentioned
Got my
it.
one in.
There you go. You had your one mention. You did say you weren't going to cover anything about it today, but you did have your one mention. I'm sure next week there'll be something else in addition to that. But
Maybe I'll go into it next week because it's just more salt in the usual wound with that one.
oh
Just
man,
say I had an experience on Twitter. If you want to know more, just check out my Twitter channel, which again at Paul Programs.
yeah, I'm sure. I will check it out after the show
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm sure it'll be interesting to see what you had to say about it.
yeah. It's fun. It's fun. Fun. Oh,
Oh man. So I moving on to the next topic, I believe one thing that you and I started talking about right before the show was Sega having some sort of banner year. I know it's only April, but they've been going pretty much nuts with a lot of releases.
guns
So
are blazing.
yeah, so could it be that we're in some sort of Sega Sans? Oh yes, I did it. I said it. The
Yes!
Sega Sans.
Boom! Podcast over. We win. Suck it, Tim
So
Cook.
I know. So I think you're more of the bigger fan of a lot of these titles than I am. So why don't you go ahead and talk about what have they released,
Yeah.
and what do you see could be coming potentially in the future, or what's already on the roadblock for them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so like I have my little list over here. So one of the big things is like Shenmue. Like Shenmue just had a great like few months toward the end of last year. You get
Mhm.
Shenmue 1 and 2, then beginning of this year you get Shenmue 3. So it's like all those people have been waiting for Shenmue, and then it's like with the potential for like, well, there's DLC for Shenmue 3 plus the potential for another Shenmue game after that supposedly. So Shenmue fans are quite happy. I mean, anyone who enjoyed the original like two games should definitely pick up three. I still have to actually
Mhm.
get it, but I also have to carve time into my world for it.
Right, right, right.
And I kind of want to finish two because I'm still like part of the way through, but like I haven't like really dived into two as much because it only came out on Xbox and experience one on Dreamcast. Then like the jump is just like, and then Dreamcast died. It's just like, well, we had a good run, Doug.
There goes that.
Though, if Sega really wants to have a great renaissance, the next classic console they should release is a Dreamcast classic.
That
Yes.
yeah, I mean that's something that I was thinking about for some time too, especially with all these like minis that have been releasing lately. The Turbo Graphics. Some people already have it in their hands because they were able to review it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was delayed till I think end of the year because of the Corona production problems and all that.
And then
But you had the Nintendo, the Super NES, the Genesis, Sony, the PS1. I
Neo
think there
Geo.
was Neo Geo,
And
right?
Neo
I think
Geo
Neo
also
Geo,
released an arcade stick, which has all the Neo Geo fighting games built into it. Because I actually picked up
right?
the arcade stick one, which is like right over there somewhere.
Yeah, I think Neo Geo was actually one of the first ones to come out because they've been kind of doing a lot of these mini
Yeah.
releases for some time in Japan. And I know there was rumors that the N64 has already been trademarked or patented for a next release. So it would
Yeah.
only make sense for Sega to continue with their version of a mini Dreamcast because
Exactly.
that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I feel like the Saturn, while it had a lot of games, it was really more obscure. No one really like was it's into it. I feel like the Dreamcast because it had such a tighter like first party lineup and so many people were into it. Man, imagine if they put like Fantasy Star like Online 1 on that bad boy and they put like a little Ethernet port in it. That's how you win fanboys.
That would
Like,
be pretty
oh
crazy,
my
yeah.
gosh. That would be probably our game for the because a bunch of us would jump on that faster than fast.
Right.
But working down the list of Sega games now, we also have Dragoon Remastered. So while it's still the original gameplay, it's like, which is a little clunky in modern systems. It's nice seeing like the game get love again because the Panzer Dragoon series just doesn't get enough love.
I have to admit, I've never been quite a fan of it. I played like the first one back in the day, and I do appreciate it for the mechanics that it has. and it was different at the time. But the story itself just never got me. You know, it
Yeah.
was just something that was just I was never into. But I know there are a lot of people who really love it. So
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's not, well, at least this one wasn't about, so I feel like the last one they came out with, which was Orda or something, I felt like that one, like the story resonated probably a little more with me, but like the first one, same. It was really more about the mechanics, the fun, and the gameplay, which still the same thing. Which, if you have a Switch, you can pick it up on the eShop.
oh, there you
Sega
go.
is not advertising any of these videos, but if Sega does, I will willingly play their stuff live. Which actually I have which leads me to one of my next points. I'll swap these two around on my list. Sakura Wars. So Sakura Wars is a very obscure set of titles that only really
Mm-hmm.
people who used to import would know about. And back in the day was like a strategy. It was a tactical RPG similar to Final Fantasy Tactics with a dating sim layered on top of it.
Yep.
So that just hit the PS4, except it's no longer a tactical like strategy RPG. It's more like a, I guess, kind of Bayonetta-esque, sort of like we're
Mm-hmm.
fighting more mobs and stuff like that. So different gameplay, but it still has the dating sim part. So there you go, everybody. Get that waifu you've
Yeah.
been looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I was aware of Sakura Wars for a very long time because I was an importer for some time, and I have the limited edition Saturn release
Oh,
that they came out
nice.
with way back in the day. Never even opened it. I still have it all sealed up because that's what I do. But you know, I did play another version of it back in the day, and it's something that Sega has been doing for a very long time in Japan.
Yeah,
You know, they've always found a way to kind of melt adventure, robots, anime, and dating sim all into one. You know, whether it's like, you know, and that was just for
oh
that.
yeah.
You know, they have other games that kind of have same type of
Hmm.
gameplay styles within it, but they've been doing it for a
Yeah.
very long time. I think one of the things that makes it interesting is that they decided to release it here in the
Yes.
States, which they haven't been doing at all. But I think it's kind of brilliant
Yeah.
on their mind to kind of be like, hey, you know what? Let's bring this out to the States
Yeah.
because they're pretty sure that there are people who are going to be interested in it.
Oh
And,
yeah.
you know, people who have been kind of clamoring for a US version or a global version to come out, now is their time.
I'll pull the case out. Actually, so yeah, same thing. It's like I always wanted to play the games here, but again, no release here. I actually got really big into the anime, which
Hmm.
like covers a lot of the points of it. Um, and then like for me, it's just like still waiting for like a release. And I'm weird when it comes to like role playing games. If you release a four here, and I know it's based in like the same universe or world, it's harder for me to jump in because it's just I feel like I missed all that world building that happened before.
Hmm.
And like with games, sometimes I like to just experience like that world building. It's not like a Final Fantasy where it's just like, hey, you can jump into Final Fantasy 7 and then skip and jump back into 15 and you've missed nothing.
Right.
So, but in terms of like Sega and these kind of like dating sim games, so yeah, they've been doing this a while, but it's just
Hmm.
crazy. I think they've gotten braver because of the Yakuza series. I think they realized with
Yeah.
Yakuza,
Hmm.
it's like, wait, people like this. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
what helped them buy Atlas because it's like, hey, it's more of the kind of weird Japan stuff that like people like, and they do it real well. So let's buy Atlas as well, and they do dating sims as well. And then
Yeah.
they can force their other employees from Atlas to do work for Sega when they need to.
Right. Of
Because
course.
I found out the artist who does the main character designs for Persona 3, 4, 5, Q, so on and so forth. Pretty much most of the recent Persona games. He actually has like did character design for the Sakura Wars game. Besides, Tide Kubo
Nice.
from Bleach fame.
Hmm.
So, but moving down the list, which we'll actually get back to Atlas toward the end because it's not really Sega, but it kind of is. But Sonic Anniversary, well, yes, let's just talk Sonic Anniversary. So, this is a little bit of pr- hopeful planning, or at least hopeful Sega planning.
Hmm.
Sonic Anniversary, they also dropped a website on us like 2, 3 weeks ago, which I forgot about like the last podcast, where they're just like, hey, we have a bunch of Sonic stuff that we're planning because this year is like, is it 30? It's a big one. It's either 25 or 30, but it's a big anniversary, and they're just like, yeah, we got a bunch of stuff, so we're gonna just start pumping stuff out. Or is it 20? I'll find that out later, but like they have a lot of plans for supposedly have a lot of plans for Sonic stuff. I'm hoping none of them are 3D abominations of Sonic games, even though they
Mm.
do well with the kids, I guess.
I mean, Sonic is fun. I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah.
for the you're right. I think it's when you gear it towards kids, they're definitely gonna
Yeah.
like love it more and more. I read something today since we're on the topic of Sonic.
Hmm.
In Japan, there was already, I think, over 1 million registrants for the Sega. What is it? The Sonic Olympic Games.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess it's a game that's coming out a little bit
It's actually
later.
already out. They released the game usually pretty early, but the Olympics unfortunately decided to push back. So,
Now you're not confusing the Mario and
oh,
Sonic
maybe that's
Olympic
the one I'm
game, right?
confusing with. Maybe it's.
Yeah, so they're coming out with a Sonic
Oh
standalone
wow.
Olympic game where I think it's called Sonic at the Olympic Games, Tokyo 2020. And I heard that a whole bunch of people already are on the list for the pre-release for
Oh
that.
yeah, on the Play Store, pre-register. Even if it's not, it doesn't have to be good. I just pre-register anyway.
And we have 1,000,001 now.
I wish it would tell me when the numbers were, because that would have been fun to see. But I mean, even Sonic is going through a mini renaissance too. Like with Sonic Mania, I feel like Sega started hitting their groove with him again.
You mean a Sonic Sans? Oh, yes.
Just pour this
Marketing,
over, pour
guys.
this over
That's how you do
here,
it. That's
here.
how you do
This. Hold on,
marketing right
getting to
there.
the
Yeah.
desktop now.
Okay, I'm done
You
for
are
now.
done. Timeout. But it's just like Sonic's also having a good set of months and years too, because not only that, but I mean, yeah, Sonic Forces was a mess, but I mean, Sonic Generations, which came out before that, was actually pretty solid because it combined the best of Sonic 3D with the best of Sonic 2D. But then we got Sonic Mania, which was great, and then they released a giant DLC for it. And then, like, was it a month or two ago? We got Sonic 2 on Sega Aegis, like one of the Sega Aegis drops, which had like
Right.
Sonic 2 and Knuckles also in there, so you actually get like the game plus more.
Hmm.
So, I mean, Sonic's also
Sonic
thriving.
goodness. Sonic goodness all around.
Yep. And then the movie wasn't bad.
I have still yet to see it, but I have heard that quite a bit,
The
that the movie was
movie
actually pretty decent.
wasn't bad. That's a victory. Like, one.
Now, if you thought the movie was horrible and you think Paul's full of shit, please feel free to comment in the comment.
For $2, I'll even say you think I'm full of shit. When I get
Nice,
them
nice.
donation amounts up.
There, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. I like it.
But and then another biggie, Fantasy Star Online 2 is now officially coming to the US. None of
That's
these
great.
like ghetto rigged, like self-made homebrew mods and hacks to get it to work.
Hmm.
Like, it's officially coming like on the Xbox One because name schemes. PC as well, so anyone who's been waiting for
Nice.
Fantasy Star Online 2 to finally make the leap, it's finally here, which a certain someone we know is going to be super excited about that since he's been
Oh
playing
yeah.
on the Vita forever.
Oh yeah. He's gonna be super excited, but then he's not gonna play it for like 3 months after it comes out. But he's gonna keep talking about it, and he's probably gonna buy all the different versions that they release. Um, we love you. You know we do. We just
Yeah,
we
but we just call you on it.
Yeah, we just like to bust your chops. If he ever sees this, he better see this. That's what I'm
And you
saying.
better like and subscribe for the replay.
That's right, and follow and all that
Tune
stuff.
in next week too,
Uh,
same time.
Stop playing Destiny. Um,
Twitch looking at our friends.
we should just flame them all right now.
Just pull up the list. All right, who's in a party right now? All right, we'll start with
Yeah.
this.
Get off Earth and come into Twitch.
Get out of the EDZ.
Yeah, you have a phone. You could log in.
You could just listen too. You don't even have to do anything. That's what I
That's
do.
right.
Just prop it next to me and let you get game overs in Final Fantasy.
Hey, I did good the last time. I didn't die
That's
last time.
true, which is
I
surprising
didn't die.
because that Ghost battle is a toughie.
Whoo, dude. And you heard me. I totally effed up the material allotment. I was like, oh yeah, ice and blah, blah,
And
blah.
then all of a sudden
And I
it's
was like,
like
wait,
ice doesn't work, wind I don't
yeah.
have.
I'm like, wait a minute. Let me reassess. Oh, fire.
And
Oh,
then you
I
got
effed
the
up.
boss fight right after that, and you still needed wind.
Yeah, but I did it. I did it. I did
Yeah.
it. I hung in there.
I'll be honest with you. I think I made the same mistake, except that like I've just gotten better at just like luring enemies to a certain character and swapping back. Because that's what I
Yeah.
do sometimes. It's just I'll just lure them to me. It's like, all right, you're gonna go for Cloud. Cloud can tank this a bit, and then like I'll
hmm
swap over the Barret or someone else.
Yeah.
So, but
Just keep Aerith in the back. Just leave her alone. She just stands there, looks cute. You
yeah,
know,
well,
don't even bother her.
she actually is very good at staggering, though. It,
She is. Yeah, she
she's
is.
probably the best one at staggering. I find it's just like she staggers way better than anyone else. But
hmm
unfortunately, it's like glass cannon. You stagger,
Oh yeah.
they somehow still hit her at the same time. They both go down.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I was so pissed off because during that battle that we were just talking about, um, she was able to finally release Shiva, and I was like, yeah, Shiva's coming out, and then she died, and then I didn't realize that Shiva goes once you die, and but at least she did her last
Oh, ice dust,
final
diamond
thing.
dust, whatever.
Yeah, but I was like, oh bye, you weren't even there halfway.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. I know that one. It's just, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I know that one too well.
yeah, mistakes were made.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So, and then again, finishing up on the Sega trend, Atlas, they made a good acquisition with Atlas. They acquired Atlas when like their mother company went bankrupt, was trying to offshore assets, and they ended up getting a company where Persona is now on such a high incline, that like Atlas is just pure profit for Sega now too. Then they also had
hmm
Catherine Full Body come out a few months ago, which is now coming out on the Switch next too. So our time before Persona games start hitting the Switch as well. I mean, and then they're still working on a big old their version of a fantasy RPG. Like they released artwork for it like 2 3 years ago, but
hmm
again, Atlas takes their time when it makes games. So I mean, yeah, it takes a lot of time, a lot of money, but they usually more than recoup just by selling even 1 million copies. They've already come out ahead.
Right.
Which now with the popularity of like Atlas and Persona and stuff, 1 million copies is like nothing for them these days.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, Atlas, I was always a fan of Atlas, even way back in the day. They may not always make like big blockbuster
Yeah,
titles, but for me, and not only me, but for like a good group of us, they make interesting games that I actually really enjoy and
yeah,
play. And I know you've been on the Persona train for a very long time.
yeah.
How many versions of 5 do you have now?
I only have two versions of Fast because
Okay.
I have one version on two consoles, and then I have the other version on the
Exactly.
only console it came out on. To be fair, it's one of those weird games that came out like cross generational because it was
hmm
like started development on PS3 and then it released when PS4 was out, so they just made a PS4 version as well. But the good
hmm
part is they made it so it's cloud save compatible, so you can actually take your cloud save from 3 and move it over to 4, so you don't have to actually start the game from scratch.
Nice.
Yeah, so. But yeah, and then Atlas also was smart too by turning Persona into a multimedia franchise too. Now there's like Japanese stage productions of Persona, which
Yeah.
just it's just weird to think about. But then it's just like, though I think the weirdest stage production has to be Sakura Wars when they did it back in the day, because it's like it's a stage production about a game based on stage productions. It's like, so we're doing a stage production of a stage production within the stage production. All right, cool. Pimp my stage production.
That's not meta at all, is it?
But yeah, I mean, Sega is just, it's really having a good time period. And there's another Persona 5 game coming out soon called Scramble, which is it's a Muso game similar to like Dynasty Warriors,
hmm
but like Atlas was heavily involved in it. So even though the gameplay looks like a Muso game, it still feels very Persona-like.
Yeah.
Outside of like the Musos part of it, you actually have all the regular Persona elements of like going around towns and interacting with other characters and stuff, building up relationships, all that fun stuff. But then it's like you have Muso gameplay, but it's refined Muso gameplay, which they've been doing this well since let Hyrule Warriors, where
Mm-hmm.
they incorporate a lot of the elements of the property they're making the game for into the actual game.
Okay.
So it doesn't feel like you're just spamming against hundreds of opponents. It's like you have to actually really think out how you react. You still have to use certain abilities and stuff to like impact enemies with certain weaknesses and so on and so forth. So
Nice. Yeah, I think in a future episode we should talk about the Dynasty Warriors franchise because so many great games, and I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunity there. I think you and I we used to talk about the Gundam versions,
oh man,
and those have kind of disappeared, and I really want them to
I
come
have
back
to
because
admit,
those were like
yeah,
the
the
best.
last one that came out on the PS3 is probably the best one.
Yeah. Well, they just kept getting better and
Yeah.
better, and it's unfortunate that now we don't get to see that type of game anymore, but I really do think that's a missed opportunity that they could go back to.
I'd easily pay for that game if you just because with the things they've learned and the way they've improved stuff, I'd easily pay for like a Gundam, like a modern Muso Gundam game. And if you
Mm-hmm.
really want to get me to spend more money, it's like throw VR in there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Be in the actual Gundam cockpit. It's just like, yes, please. Like this is everything I wanted. I don't need anything else in my life. It's like I'm in a Gundam cockpit. It's just like nothing else matters at this point.
Right. Yeah, no, that would be awesome. But yeah, total missed opportunity. And yeah, we should definitely talk about it in a
Oh
future
yeah,
episode.
yeah. So many Dynasty Warrior games too, and so many
Mm-hmm.
people take advantage of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean that pretty much covers like the bulk of Sega. I mean, they probably have way more stuff in the pipeline too. There's probably so much more in terms of the Sega Ages stuff, which is being handled by the actual creator of the original Fantasy Star anyway, her and M2, who
Mm.
actually handled all the ports on the Sega Genesis Classic as well.
Okay.
So it's like you have a good group in Sega that's also handling a lot of the work that's being done on these Sega Ages games. And it's like if Nintendo's not going to give us like our virtual console games that we paid for, especially with them shutting shops down in other countries, which is totally throwing everyone to a panic now because like I got to download all my games from the eShop before they shut down here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like Sega is really filling the void. Them and SNK as well too. But SNK's been
Right.
pumping out arcade classics and stuff for years. So
Yeah, they have such a full, rich library that they can do whatever they want with any of that
oh
stuff.
yeah, I mean that's part of the reason I got the arcade stick because it's like it had all the Samurai Showdowns, Final Fights, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. King of Fighters. It's like yeah, I'm gonna be terrible at all of these because I haven't played in a while and I'm not used to playing on an arcade stick for fighting games because I'm more used to the Genesis style D-pads for fighting games because I find that to be
Mm-hmm.
the most comfortable way for like pulling off things. Even when like Street Fighter 4 came out on the PS4 3, I mean, I got like the Fight Pad which had that Sega Genesis style of control, which it's the best kind of control for fighting games.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Sega, keep doing what you're doing and try to avoid the super realistic weird Sonic games, please. It's like we don't need that. And if you had a talk
Yeah.
with Paramount about the Sonic movie, good job. It paid off.
Or if you stayed away from it, even better job.
That's not nice. It's actually not a bad movie. I recommend if it ends up on when it ends up
No,
on
that's
Netflix, watch it.
that. No, that's what I mean. Like,
Yes.
I feel like a lot of these like video game adaptations,
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it sucks because maybe there was too much involvement by the
Yeah.
original studio or whatever case is, or they gave too much liberty to the director, and he just went all like out of control and all that stuff. So
Oh yeah.
equal amount of attention I think is good. I don't know how much input or handholding the Sega had directly with it, but from what I hear, again, it sounds like it worked out. So
Yes. So actually, that reminds me of another good topic we can have, which I'm just trying to make note of real quick, which is game movies.
Ah,
Yes, we'll get to
future episode. That's gonna be big. That's gonna be
that's
huge.
gonna
I could see it
that's
already.
probably gonna be a whole episode in of itself. But let me just get that down. Dynasty Warriors and game movies, just so we have quick reference. Me and my clicky click click type keyboard. Ra-
Nice.
Razer Chroma Black Widow. If Razer also wants to like sponsor us and provide me with a new one because mine is a few years old now, and sometimes the keys do some funky actions. Like randomly, it's just like I press a key, and it's just like you want to press that key 1,000 times, don't you? It's like no, that's never in the cards. I didn't want to press K like 5,000 times. At least it doesn't stop at three though. It's like I guess like yeah, you don't want 3Ks just popping in there out of nowhere. Especially
Right.
if you're trying to type something on like LinkedIn or something. It's like, yeah, guys, this was a really cool with Ks, and it's like 3Ks. Like, and yeah, I'm banned from LinkedIn now. I deserve it. It's like, thanks, keyboard.
Oh man. Well, now that we got the groveling out of the way, the next topic that we wanted to talk about, now with everyone experiencing full on how it is to actually work from home and some of the adjustments a lot of these companies are going to have to make moving into the near future.
Yes.
Work from home ethics, work from home policies, work from home, how to handle proper work from home. And not so much from an employee standpoint, but more from a company standpoint, because there's a lot of companies out there who are still very against working from home. So I know you wanted to talk on this.
Yeah. So a little bit of my thought on it is that so I actually read an article that said that by 2030 we were supposed to be at like I think the 40 or 6 to 60% like increase of work from like remote work and work from more like stable work from home kind of policies. And because of everything that's going on, it's actually jumped forward 10 years. Like
Hmm.
we're actually hitting those numbers now in 2020 because of everything that's happened. And I don't think it's a temporary, well, I don't believe it's a temporary situation because now that everyone's experienced it and people are starting to get used to the flow, how it works, and are comfortable with it, I
Hmm.
feel like companies have to now adapt to this. Otherwise, they're going to have a real struggle holding on to like the top tier, like talent and things like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think the thing is, like, you and I, we both worked in ad tech, and I feel like a lot of companies are still very old school in their mentality, especially when it comes to working from home. I mean, 9 out of 10 platforms that I used, and in most of the jobs I had in the last, 5 years, everything was done online. There was like this one occasion where maybe we were still relying on a server that was still being housed in an office,
Oof.
but everything that we could have done could have been easily done online. And I think it's one of those situations where when they don't see you, they automatically think you're not working. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's, unfortunately, there's like a couple of those bad eggs where that could
Yeah.
be true. But that's not always the case. There's a lot of people, you, myself, like we've worked from home many times. And
Yeah.
actually, I feel more productive working from home because number
Yeah.
one, I don't have to worry about the commute. The commute saves me 2 hours out of my day, and I could
Mm-hmm.
easily get up, get straight to the computer, do what I need to do, and I could even work an extra hour because I don't have to worry about that 1 hour commute going back home. And two, I'm not distracted. I'm not getting pulled aside every like 30 minutes. Hey, you got a quick second?
Adult
Hey, can
Kids
we talk
Club.
about this? Yeah, it's like, hey, can you join this meeting real quick? No, I can't. But the type of position I had, I couldn't just say no,
Oh, I
because
know.
being a director and all that stuff like that. But when I'm at home, you don't get bothered as
Yeah.
much, because one, they know you're not around, so they're not going to easily walk to your desk and pull you aside or whatever the case is, and all the things that they need to talk about could just be covered in either a quick message
Yeah.
or an email,
Yeah.
and it's just they don't want to bother doing that.
No. And then if it's something that takes more time, then it's like you set up a meeting. It's like, at that point, it's like the
Right.
meetings go even quicker because the tools have gotten better. Screen sharing or just Google Drive alone. It's like you can all be in the same document looking at the same things. Like I definitely like my last gig, definitely there was like working remotely. Well, working from home wasn't a problem. Working remote is when things got a little dicey-ish.
Hmm.
But I'm just like, but you let me work from home sometimes, oh, for a whole week, or when it snows for a whole week in New York.
Right, right.
It's just like, and you trust everyone to get it done then, but all of a sudden it's just like when they hear remote work, it's like a switch just flips, and it's just like, yeah, no, we can't trust you with that. It's just like, I've literally architected whole automated systems to build advertising campaigns without any real human touch.
Yeah,
What makes you think I'm going to stop doing that kind of thing just by being home?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's something that a lot of companies definitely do now have to take to heart, and they save on they save money this way too. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. A lot of companies, the last company I was in, we weren't a huge company, but we like to pretend that we were. We had half a floor in a building that we only utilized maybe 30% of. What a waste. And I could only imagine how much they were spending on rent, utilities, all that stuff like that. Get a smaller office or maybe get a WeWork or something like that. Have the people who can work from home on at least 4 days out of a week or
Yeah.
whatever the case is, do that, and then you could save so much money as a company. It's so much overhead. Um, and you've been to WeWorks, I've been to WeWorks. Like WeWorks have so many benefits and perks and all that stuff like that. Companies who don't utilize that spend for their own snacks, spend for their own
Exactly.
drinks. They do the Friday lunches, which is great, but look at all the money that they could be like trimming,
Yep.
and it's something that is going to be, I'm sure, heavily considered now because of the whole situation that's going on now. And who knows? I'm
Yeah.
hoping that it's going to be better. But it's one of those things that we can just wait and see.
Yeah. So I was actually trying to find out because I read an article that said what the cost was, but I found one from 2015 that says the cost per employee per office per year is 14,000 in 2015, average across the country.
And that's only higher now.
I thought I read like 30,000 a person in the article I found from more recently, but I can't find it right now. But think about that. It's just like 14 to $30,000 per employee saved by not having to deal with office space. And if you need a collaborative space for meetings or for people just to kind of roll in, like you can get that kind of space, but it's a lot less expensive to get a smaller space that's just a conference room and then like a few desks here and there.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that money could be spent to other things like employee salaries, giving employee better perks, like more outings, because outings build morale. Like your team wants to work together, they want to spend time together. Sometimes just being able to just have a nice big old outing together is a better thing than being in the office constantly because there's just too many distractions, like you mentioned, and it's become kind of like an adults playground where people spend like I can only imagine if we actually ran the numbers, how much time we actually waste. Just sometimes even just bullshitting while like walking or like for the day. I mean, you and me
Hmm.
were the worst, though. We did it at the end of the day where that's where we messed up. We should have like not afterward, before, during, like
Yeah.
so many hours
We, we
after.
we were too responsible, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and drowning in IBM, it's kind of hard to do anything but that during the day.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see like policies change. I would like to see companies be a little bit more lenient with
Uh-huh.
that stuff. I know there are companies that are good at this
Yeah.
and who do support this big time. So kudos to them. But it's time for other companies to really take notice of that because I'm pretty sure even now, with majority of people in the US working from home, majority of people across the world working from home, they can see how much money they're probably saving already. Um,
Electricity
Now,
alone.
yeah,
All those
I mean,
computers not on any.
yeah. Now it's going to be on us as the employees to worry about our own electricity and everything like that. But that could be easily like reconciled, and with
Yeah,
taxes and this and that, we are working out of our home, we are allowed to kind of
yeah,
get compensated for all the work that we do out of
exactly.
our own home.
Like a small stipend or something like that. Like if you're working on, like if you really think about it, they're not gonna cover electricity because electricity is too hard to figure out for most people. But
Hmm.
internet, like that's usually a set cost, usually around 60, $70. If you give people like $150 stipend for like phone and internet, that covers a bulk of the costs, like saving, like, let me rephrase. You save a bulk of the money still because even spending like that much a year, you still come out to 1,500 to 2,000 most, which is still based on numbers mentioned before, 12 to 28,000 less. So
Right.
then you can still pay the same salary as you want. You're welcome.
Right. Or even afford higher salaries
Yeah,
and proper compensation and increases for
exactly.
people who do deserve it, because that's another problem that companies tend to suffer
I
from.
mean,
So.
and then the other interesting thing that just came to mind, which is important, is like IT. IT is going to be important, but
Mm-hmm.
IT is also one of the easiest, not easiest, but it's one of the growing fields that requires people to work in, but a lot of people who come from different like backgrounds and industries can be trained into IT. It's not
Right.
like the same as engineering. Like there's a lot of stuff you have to learn over time in IT, but it's not like training for like coding where you need to like learn this and it depends on the language and so on and so forth. It's like IT skills are still IT skills no matter where you go. And with everyone working remote, even IT is going to change. I see it being more like a delivery service, really, where
Yeah.
like your IT guy is kind of like sent out to different, like if he has to, he'll have a calendar where he has to kind of do drive alongs, but like I don't know. It just feels like IT is a field that's ripe for growing, and companies need to invest more in it, not the
Mm-hmm.
one or two people and a closet full of servers that a lot of companies spend on.
Yeah.
Like three or four IT people minimum, and that's if you're a small company. If you're bigger, like 100.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have a lot of folks within our circle who do work in IT, and we hear the struggles that they go through all the time. And, it doesn't have to be that bad. But again, it's one of those things where companies don't realize the pure value of that type of side of the business.
Exactly.
The more and more technology comes in, the more advanced we get in the technology, the more and more the need is going to be for these people. And not only do they need to be compensated, but they need to be fully staffed and resourced. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are way behind the ball on that.
Oh yeah. And that's again thing that they're gonna have to improve. I mean, companies definitely are gonna have to do a lot of work. There's definitely a lot of companies who were a little bit better prepared. I hate to say it, but my former company, before like they lost financing, like they were very well prepared for remote work because we had to have people in all sorts of places anyway. We had like three main offices. On top of that, we had like a lot of satellite people or offices as well too. So like it's surprising how some companies still haven't gotten there yet, and mine was like a small to mid-sized company anyway, and we were ready for this to happen before shutting down. After shutting down,
you
I guess technically we still were ready,
you guys were way ahead of the way ahead of the curve there.
but it's like there's these older companies which are gonna have to get that kind of mindset change where it's just like there's nothing wrong with offering that flexibility. It's like people are still going to be doing what needs to be done. Like, especially like developers, they're still going to be committing code. Like, all of it goes through GitHub.
Right.
GitHub is everywhere because GitHub's that. Which goes to like the next point of it. It's just like these cloud services, online services are just going to thrive in this time. And the companies who have been so resistant to using external software need to get off their high horse at this point.
Hmm.
Like, honestly.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, look, this is a year of reevaluation across the board. This is a year of figuring things out and having to make adjustments and changes for everybody. And I think now is a perfect opportunity for companies to really reconsider like how they've been handling not only their finances, but how they're handling like their technology, how they're handling their support staff, everything that falls within that. And they're going to have to figure it out sooner than later because companies are bleeding right now. And if they're going to need to make any of that money back, especially moving into next year,
Yep.
they need to make quick changes now.
Oh yeah. And honestly, it's like the savings. It's like if not for anything, if all you care about is money, the savings speak for themselves. I mean, there's
Yeah.
numbers and there's so many analytics and charts. It's like there are certain industries that they just can't. It's the nature of it. But there's still a lot that can. And even then, there's still the ability to like grow other things in those some of those industries because of automation and like robotics enhancements. It's like, do you actually need to have all your like factory workers there, or can they just log into a terminal remotely and actually make the fixes that need to be fixed or monitor and things like that?
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
and it goes back to one of my bigger points just of all time. It's like we should always be trying to just skill up the workforce. It doesn't matter if like they're like worked in coal or anything. We should always be trying to make everyone just put everyone in a position where they can succeed when things change because jobs are always changing. Coal is disappearing the way that like other things disappear, like horse carriages. We're not driving horse carriages around. Shoot,
Unless you're Amish.
most of us aren't driving horse, but I mean, it doesn't matter. They're not even watching this. They can't. They're not allowed to unless they're on
I don't
pilgrimage.
know. There could be like that one person that sneaks out every time and every now and then just to go on Twitch because he has to get his gaming fix of Fortnite.
Yeah, because he spent his pilgrimage in like the U.S. and it's like Fortnite exists. I went back because I should have, but I regret it immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Jacob, stop watching us right now. They know,
Yeah.
and you have to churn butter in the morning. So,
Yeah. Stop
but if
watching.
you
Don't
are
plan on
watch,
going bowling
but if you
later.
are watching, like, subscribe, and share with any of your non-Amish cohorts, because I'm not trying to be responsible for converting them to oh, actually, do I really care though? I mean,
No, we don't.
morally it's be wrong, but
It's all right.
fiscally,
He's the one that's sinning, not
that's
us.
true.
So
We're not sinning.
yeah.
We know who our
No.
audience is, and it
Right.
wasn't really Amish people, but
We are open.
yes.
Please, anyone can join us and watch us and talk with us. I'd love to learn about, changing horseshoes and stuff like that. That is something I could add to my knowledge base because you never know that could come up in trivia one
Those
day.
would be great TikToks.
While doing a
Yeah,
dance,
that feeling when
you
changing a
know,
horseshoe.
like horseshoe change.
It's like, yeah, just like one scene, two scenes, so that every nail, like,
Yeah, imagine getting that trending. That'll be crazy.
oh my gosh, it's like that Amish life.
Oh
Oh,
man. All right. Well, I guess that covers like our main topics that we were going to talk about today. And every week we're going to be covering different things, obviously. And to remind all of you again, please feel free to send us feedback. What would you like to hear us talk about? What would you like to hear us cover? Paul and I, we could talk about anything and everything like forever. It's just because we have that passion and that general interest in a lot of things that we're into. But we want to hear what you're interested in. For all we know, you could bring something up that we do like or we do want to talk about. So it'll be great. But that kind of like leads into this next part where something that occurred to me when we did our first show last week. You're watching us, or maybe catching a replay, or maybe you heard from somebody, or someone sent you a link, but you're like, who the hell are these guys? Like, why should I even bother watching them? Where did they come from? And all that stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of give a moment where we kind of discuss, how we know each other, who we are, the things that we're into, and how we came across, like, talking about all this stuff and wanting to start up like something like this. So I guess I can go first. Basically, I've known Paul because he worked with a very close friend of mine at a video game company, a company which I am not afraid to say that I helped start from the ground up. Um,
I don't believe it. You
basic.
weren't there when I first.
For those of you who don't know, not only have I been working in advertising for the last 13 years, but I've had a small stint within the video game industry for two different companies. But the most common denominator in those two companies was this one person who was vice president at one company and became his own president when he started up his other the new company. And when he was starting things up, I was probably one of two other people that kind of he helped bring on to kind of start up and build the company out. And I was with that last company for several years. I kind of brought in a lot of people, people who remained there for much longer than after I left. And Paul was, and basically my task was I kind of helped build and formulate the QA department. And if you know anything about game publishing, obviously you have a game publisher and you have a developer. Developer is the one who does all the programming and code and does some QA testing, but really it relies on the publisher to make sure that the product is clean before it actually can get released and put out there into the general public. So it was our task to kind of make sure that the games were clean or as clean as possible. These are the days also, mind you, where there were no internet downloads of, bug fixes or anything like
Builds
that. So
weren't
we had to
automated and on a Dropbox or
yeah,
anything like that. Nope. Had to burn those bad
yeah.
boys to a CD off of a server.
Yeah, and if it failed, we lost all the money that we spent on all the CD production and everything like that. So we really had to make sure we were on top of our game there. But Paul was hired several years afterwards, after I left, because the QA department actually grew tremendously because the company was actually like churning out a lot of different titles.
Yeah.
Nothing huge. I mean, we call them budget titles at the time, but still, they were being released on PlayStation, Xbox, Game Boy, and then later on, I believe Switch was
Yeah.
not Switch, the Wii.
Wii,
The Wii
Nintendo
was
DS,
like,
PSP. By
yeah,
the time like
yeah.
my stint finished.
Right. Yeah. So they were branching off into all the different platforms, which was great for them. And definitely there was a need for QA presence. So Paul was hired on, and you can correct me if I'm wrong with any of this. This is just how I recall
Yeah.
it. And, my memory tends to be really bad these days as I get older. But Paul was hired, I believe, part time and then
Yeah.
eventually became full time at
Hired
one point.
morning shift, and then after a certain title released, the whole QA pit was pretty much cleared out, and then I was
Hmm.
called back like months later in a more full-time capacity. Well, at least
There you go.
full-time
Okay.
hours, but still hourly
Right.
pay.
Right. Yeah. So I met Paul through our mutual friend during an outing. I think it was one of these happy hours or something like that. Or,
What's one of the
or
two? I don't remember. We had so many.
yeah, there were so many different things. Like we had game nights and this and that. And I'm pretty sure that's how we came across. But I really didn't get to know Paul until I needed someone to join my team when I was working in a publisher, not game related, but this is more for advertising purposes and campaign management. And knowing how technical Paul was, especially since he is a programmer, I needed someone with like a lot of technical expertise. Now, Paul didn't know anything about advertising whatsoever, but I had him take one look at the code and he was able to kind of figure something out on the fly, which impressed me, impressed my
Yeah.
boss, and that's how we hired him to join the team. And that's how he basically started his brief stint, I guess you could kind of say, within the
Brief.
advertising world.
I think I
I
was
mean
in
that very sarcastically.
advertising longer than I was in like excess. I mean, game testing, game testing. There's no company.
That's all right. The names could go out. I
Yeah, I
mean,
know. It's
whatever.
no longer around anyway. It's like,
Yeah,
though the
yeah.
website's still up. That's the funny part.
Well, the
Someone's still
website
paying
is
for
up.
that to still stay up.
Yeah, which is unusual. Also, there is a Wikipedia entry on Excess Games, which at one point, and I swear this was not me. I didn't have anything to do about it. But somebody
What
I
wasn't
knew,
me either. I wish it was.
yeah, somebody I knew decided to edit the page and tell them that I was the sole responsibility of the XS game's success.
But it's the way they described you as well. It's like full name, the sexiest man alive.
This was not me. I swear it was not me. When I found out about it, I couldn't help but laugh, but then also briefly freak out about it too. Oh, good old Wikipedia. So easy to edit all that stuff.
Way too
But
easy.
yeah, but that's basically how Paul and I really got to know each other more. And then the more we worked together, the more we hung out, and the more we realized we had a lot of things in common and loves for games, comics, movies, this and that. And that's just how our friendship grew from there. And, like every chance we can get, we always talk about games. We play games together online. Back when we were doing a lot of the tabletop gaming like Hero Clicks, we were doing that on a regular basis. And the circle of friends that we were, introduced in, we still keep very close contact with. So that's my recollection on how our friendship started. I don't know if you wanted to add
You
anything to
forgot
that.
the movie nights.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. The movie nights and the numerous movie outings that we've had too. I mean, it was just again, we just knew that we shared so many interests, and our friendship grew and got stronger from there.
I, I I
Um,
think the switch really flipped on, like the switch really flipped up on us being in sync when we had that one Hero Clicks night at one, like
yeah.
not our usual friend's place, but at the one who plays Fantasy Star, who's probably on Destiny right now,
Yes.
where all of a
Yes.
sudden, like we realized, wait, we can team up against this one person who is also there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we officially
Oh yeah.
became the Old Man Muppets.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that is a moniker that we've been living with for the longest time. We are Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets, and if you don't know who we're talking about, do watch or look them up on YouTube. They are the two older gentlemen that sit in the balcony that all they do is heckle everyone on stage, because they always have opinions and they just want to like heckle for. They were the trolls before trolling was a
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
and that's basically what we specialize in, especially online when we play with our friends.
Yes. Oh yeah. Though I think we also connected pretty well when we played a lot of Call of Duty and we did the same thing to Sandy.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh wow. Yeah. Those were the
Because I
days.
think you and me were like, where is he? No. Mac's gonna dismantle us all, but hey, he's the one who we like. Yeah, there's another one of our friends who we just purposely like, because he talked so much smack. And
Yeah,
it's,
and I'm sure like you guys have that one person that you love to play with that all they do is talk big. They talk big, but they don't do shit. So they're just easy targets, and we always love to make sure that
especially in
that
free
target,
for all.
yeah, oh yeah,
It's like you would sniping, we would just like mid range picking off. It's just like there he is. Sandy's moving this way. Huh? Why are you telling him where I am?
boom.
It's like that's why there's a sniper on in our squad and he's cleaning up.
Oh yeah, 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 and I'm sure we'll share a lot more of those stories as time goes because there's so many stories to tell. All you guys playing Call of Duty nowadays, like with the Modern Warfare release and all that, you didn't know how it was when it first came out. I mean, it's a totally different beast. You know, online gaming wasn't huge yet, so there were a lot of LAN
Yeah,
parties that we had, a lot of
like
what we will call blind nights and stuff like that, where we would have to carry TVs and our consoles to other people's houses.
gosh, I remember
And
that. Like we had one of those
yeah,
at another one of our friends all the way up in like Riverside, like
yeah,
just a big old gathering night and like everyone brought like either a TV or a
hmm,
console.
yeah.
Then me and another one of our friends actually got searched by police on the way home that night
Oh,
or that
nice.
morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not surprised.
that was a special night. It's like, oh hey, yeah, I guess it's like, yeah, we need to search you guys, make sure you don't have any drugs or whatever. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, we just have gaming paraphernalia.
Exactly. It's like
Is that
they
okay?
open your bag. It's like, it's just an X. Oh, nerds, get out of here. It's like,
Yeah,
look at this. It's like, what did you think was you were getting?
right. Little did they know we hid the drugs in the consoles.
Disk drives. It's the best place. No one ever checks in the disk drives.
That's right. That's right. See? Fool you guys, suckers.
That's not a hard
Um,
drive. That's all drugs.
right. So yeah, so that's pretty much kind of like a brief rundown of like Paul and myself, like how we knew each other. Like, we thought that this would be a cool thing to do,
Yeah.
kind of just have like a weekly show where we talk about stuff. And I'm enjoying it, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. I mean,
Yeah.
the two of you that are watching us right now.
And
But
hopefully the
it
hundreds more who watch this replay later on YouTube.
100%. Like we know you guys like can't always make it live, and then we understand that it is pretty late in the day. But definitely catch us in the replays because uh, we do this not because we're looking for attention. We do this because we actually have the passion of what we talk about,
Yeah,
and we know there's
that's
a
it.
lot of you out there. Well,
You told me with attention.
and the money.
Wait, that's money
Um,
too?
I think so. Um, but we know there's a lot of you out there like us, and one of the things that I always thought was cool is that our group of friends, we always gather together and we just talk not like nonstop about so many different things, and we want to share those conversations with you guys because we know you're having those conversations with your friends too, or maybe you don't because maybe you're the only one who's into that stuff. Join us. We're more than happy to share and converse. As Paul's doing the Rick James, give it to me, baby, kind of thing.
I mean, I have the
But
light for it. It's like, give it to me, baby.
that is true. Yeah, you just need to change the hue to like a little reddish pink, and then I think it'll be even better, which I know you can do. So, as he's contemplating and figuring that out, but yeah. On Monday's Low-Key Geek show, I kind of gave you a brief rundown about myself and kind of like how. Well, there it is. There it is. Perfect. But
Yeah, man, I could do a lot of colors surprisingly with these lights. It says there's only like 12 colors, but it's a lot of variety for 12.
hey, 12 is a lot. 12 is more than you need
Yeah.
sometimes before you even know it. But yeah, I kind of like gave a little rundown about myself and all that stuff. So if you're interested to hear about that, you could check out the replay of Monday's show. But I wanted to take this time to kind of talk more about Paul, because I think Paul's an interesting dude and he's into a lot of things. And I wanted you guys to kind of understand Paul like I understand Paul, or like how I see Paul. So and we didn't really get a chance to do that with our first show,
Yeah.
so I think now is a great time to kind of be like, Paul, what what are your interests, and how did you come across these interests, and how did you get into them?
Oh man, so it's crazy because well, my biggest interest is gaming. It's probably dictated most of everything I've done, and that started. Well, I was a wee lad. I mean, I was literally born the same day the NES was released in the US. Same exact
There you
day.
go.
So
Hmm.
that's my claim to fame. But
Nice.
I mean, no, I didn't get an NES until, well, actually, I used my mother's Game Boy when I was like 3 or 4 or so. But either way, I didn't get like an NES until I was like 5 or something like that. And then 2 years later, the or like actually that same year, the Super NES came out. But let's not talk about poverty and that fun. Getting things 5 years later.
That's all right. It's just semantics.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about any of that
But
stuff.
like games has always been like the driving factor of a lot of the decisions I've made. Just understanding how they work, how they come together. And I guess the other interest I had was Legos growing up and putting things together. Just
Nice.
imagination. I mean, I also grew up watching Bob Ross too. Again, another reason being
Nice.
poor, couldn't afford anything past Channel 13. Unless it was the Spanish channels. But games really helped inform like a lot of who I am, learning. I mean that, and then my interest in computers came because of games, understanding how hardware works. And that led me to like actually studying computers and like actual computer graphics in college, which surprisingly, it has helped me quite a bit over time.
Hmm.
But which led me into. I mean, I also worked part time at Best Buy. I ended up in Geek Squad.
Nice.
I mean, it's just.
Uh,
It's just I feel like I was gonna end up in any department eventually. Well, I mean, I started off in the games, music, and CD section, and then eventually ended up on Geek
mhm.
Squad, which again, yeah, those both those like sections, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Except for
Now that was a job you had before you joined me over at Ziff Davis, right?
oh, it was before I even joined XS, I worked Best Buy.
Oh, way back then.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah. No, this is super
Yeah.
long time ago, which was great because I actually had a chance when working in media to talk to people about games and stuff, like help well learn about like the different systems and how you target them to different people. Like that's when I
Hmm.
realized it's like no, Nintendo, like yeah, they have their audience of kids and family, but there's a reason why, and they do well within that, except when they break out of that, which is what the GameCube did, but then they regrouped with the Wii. And
Hmm.
then understanding like there's specific audiences for Xbox, there's specific audiences for PlayStation, which weirdly helped inform my some of my advertising career too, I guess.
Right. Right. Right.
But it's just like building on that and then like studying computer science, but also building my own computers. It's like that's what led me to Geek Squad eventually. And
Hmm.
then from there, I was like, well, that and a bipolar like senior, like it's like, yeah, I'm over hourly.
Hmm.
I put like a good 4 year, 3 to 4 years in. I'm gonna just call it quits, especially since I was going like grad school at that point anyway. Because
Right.
for me, I just wanted to get school done, all of it, as much of it done. I mean,
Hmm.
PhD still might be in the cards, but that's just because I want to be called doctor. It's like doctor,
Doctor Huxtable.
doctor, doctor, doctor.
Start calling you Doctor Huxtable.
Uh,
Too soon?
may,
Is that too soon?
maybe 3 years ago and 5 years from now, but
Right. Right.
I don't really want to be associated with the Hux and
Right.
his special drinky drink pills.
Oh yeah, his little Spanish fly. That's right.
Who am
You
I
know I'm gonna get on top of you
with the pudding pop?
with the Jello pudding cup.
Oh, but from that actually led me to working at XS um,
Hmm.
while I was actually finishing up grad school. So it's actually that's why I worked the morning shift, but I went to actual grad school and classes at night. So
Okay.
it's actually like so when I finished grad school, then that's actually around the same time that I got the call back,
Hmm.
which there's more history about like why there was a gap, but that's probably better for an offline show. Or if you donate $50 to $100 right now,
We'll freaking rip the band-aid off and we'll just like dive right in. I mean, come on. There's at least on my channel, there's no subject that is too taboo. I will talk about anything. I know Paul's a little bit more sensitive about that stuff, but hey, money talks, right? So
I'm considerate. I wouldn't say sensitive. I try to be a little more considerate to all parties involved over time. I mean, part of it was also my fault too, being younger and a little more brash, as you saw at earlier points of
yeah.
my advertising life.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, true story. When Paul joined my team at Ziff Davis, he even admitted to himself like he's not that big of like a customer service person. Like he usually just doesn't really like to talk to people and all that stuff like that. And in the earlier months, we were getting a lot of complaints on how he was handling like emails and conversing with sales and this and that. So I spent a lot of time in trying to teach him just the simple tricks on how to make your emails not sound so direct and not sound a little bit more friendly, and how to talk to clients and this and that, and just being exposed to that because he was never exposed to it, and being exposed to
Code
all
wants you
that.
to be direct.
Yeah, and I get that. I get, dealing with programmers is different than how you deal with salespeople or how you deal with clients, especially like on the agency side and stuff like that. But I was able to turn things around for him very drastically, where he became a very, very important member of the team. And for that, I was always very happy of like how Paul turned out.
Yeah, man. Good old Jason. Oh no,
Yeah,
Justin.
yeah, he
Oh,
was.
Justin too.
Yeah, well, both of them. Yeah, but I think Jason was definitely more of the
Well,
vocal.
Jason was
Like,
the vocal anti me, but
yeah,
Justin
yeah,
appreciated receiving me on the back half of it because he never really dealt with me until like after other things went down, and then like I was already groomed by you,
yeah.
and I put most of that hateful mail towards a certain person who got their position who didn't deserve their position,
we
who made certain amounts of money that yeah.
Yeah, now that's a topic we may or may not talk about. But again, if you donate $50 or $100, I will be more than happy to rip that band-aid and like spill the
Or
beans.
pay potential legal fees, which is actually probably more appreciated.
That is true. I did. Well,
Well,
yeah.
if anything,
Let's just leave it at that. Yeah.
let's just say things.
I came across some confidential information that I probably should not have come across or had access to. Even when I didn't really have access to it, I kind of forced a hand on that. But anyways,
Moving on, anyway, but
moving on. Yeah, no one's watching this, right? I mean, come
but
on.
so yeah, continuing back with like my history. So yeah, I mean, working at Excess Games. I mean, part of it was just a little bit of arrogance because it's like, oh, I study computer science. It's like whatever, it is what it is. So that's probably
Hmm.
why I didn't get that's part of the reason why I didn't get an initial callback.
Right.
But also, it's just like I don't know. I'm learned some humility there too. So a little
That's
less
fine.
over like expecting with my skill set, which kind of caused other reverse issues later on in life.
Hmm.
Which
I mean,
yeah, because part of it is like
no,
being part art major to an undergrad. It's just like I realize, especially as I got older, it's just like imposter syndrome is super real and
hmm,
it super invades everything.
right. Yeah, and I think all of us kind of go through that at some point in our lives where, especially when you're younger, you kind of think like you know better than you really do.
Yeah.
And we all have to go through some sort of form of humility and all that. Some go through it earlier in life, some go through it later in life, but we all go through it.
Oh yeah.
All of us do.
I'm happy
And
most lessons come earlier than later for me.
yeah, and you really learned how to turn things around for yourself too. Like the one thing I always valued about you was that you listened. You took the time to listen to the criticism, you listened to the feedback, and you were willing to make changes. I've come across many people who were not, who just didn't want to listen, didn't want to believe in it, or they would listen but never made the efforts to change it.
Hmm.
They will just be like, oh, okay, I'll work on that, but then they never do.
Yeah.
You made a concerted effort to really focus in on it, and then you would even check in with me. It's like, how are things doing? Am I
Hmm.
getting better? And all this stuff like that. And that's one thing I've always valued about you. Like, you were so quick to like, take ownership of like the problems and then turn it around and change it. Which is not, something that not a lot of people have.
But no, really, how are things? What can I do better?
Yeah, that's a conversation we'll have offline. No,
It's
I
like,
kid,
how
I
can we
kid.
get more views? That's well, I guess now
Yeah,
we're in
well,
the same boat together now.
yeah, that's something that I think you and I have to work on together as a group
Yeah,
and
I
figure
mean,
that out.
learning a lot, and I mean, I've done some good reading, which I think has helped, at least in the terms of the quality, because I think
Hmm.
because we are able to get the quality as high as we have so far, the
Hmm.
rest of it will just start happening. I mean, and then it's a little bit of fake it till you make it when it comes to certain things. Certain things, it's
Yeah,
fake it till you make it, like interviews. Then when you actually have the
yeah,
job, you do, then you have to grind a
yeah,
bit, but yes,
yeah.
so but going on,
I mean,
yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, like, the thing about this space that we are venturing into. I mean, it's a hustle, it's a
Mhm.
grind. There's a lot of people out there who's been doing this for
Yeah.
years, and it took them a long time to get to where they are now. Some never even get to that point,
I
right?
mean, I
So,
keep mentioning Alpha Gaming because it's like he's one of my favorite like channels to actually learn from and study from because he's a perfect example. He even admitted like in a recent, actually I think today's video, but a recent video that like he literally only had 20 viewers like on YouTube maybe like a year or two ago, and now all of a sudden, because he's put the effort in, focused on a brand and subject that really works, really learned how to connect with his audiences and used his audiences on Twitch to bring into YouTube, and his audiences on YouTube to bring into Twitch, and getting that kind of cross pollination.
Hmm.
So it's like, and he even admits, it's like, yeah, there's work. I mean, there are certain tips that can hopefully expedite like the process, but it's still like work and a grind to it.
Yeah,
Which,
because at the end of the day, it's all on you. It's all on like you and I to see how serious we're going to do and how much work we're going to put into it. I feel like a lot of people they start off and it's like a flash in the pan for them.
yeah,
Like, oh, like this was nice for a couple of months and then I'm just going to move on to my next thing.
no,
I know for a fact that for myself, this is something I wanted to see myself doing for the foreseeable future and beyond.
yeah,
And I know you have the same feelings too. It's just how are we going to grow it and how are we going to do it together? And we'll figure it out.
yeah,
We'll figure it out. It'll take time.
exactly.
Obviously the support that you guys give us is a tremendous help in that. And we'll just see where it takes us. But so far for what I've been doing this now for what 2-3 weeks,
Yeah,
or this is my third week, and I've been enjoying it. I get it. It does feel like a full time job.
yeah,
And it's very interesting. But I do like it because again, it involves things that I am into. It
exactly.
involves my passions. And the one thing that I've always admired about like Steve Jobs is that he always said, do what makes you happy. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, stop what you're doing and find out what is that thing that's going to make you happy. And, could this be it? I hope so. And if not, this could be part of it.
Yeah,
So, we'll just see where it goes.
exactly. So yeah, and then I guess continuing down the line of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So good part though is our mutual friend really did take me like under his wing a lot and gave me a lot of
Yeah.
opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
which led me to actually being a lead, working more with technical documentations of hardware manufacturers. So like learning Nintendo's rule set, learning Sony's rule sets, how to work it, actually
Mm-hmm.
working with developers, communicating, and things like that. Like there's a lot of growth opportunity that I had back in Excess, which just really still built upon like a lot of my interests, which was again goes back to gaming. And then even then, it made it even easier when I decided to start doing game jams, like the global game jam that I do most years, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like you have to build the game in 48 hours. It's like there's certain disciplines and skill sets that like you really need, and like it actually got me confidence to just try it. It's like whatever, it's 48 hours to make something. It's like it doesn't have to be perfect. Unfortunately, when you
Right.
do the first one and you win an award, it's like the bar is set really high afterwards. It's like, oh great, we won best of venue. Now I have to somehow figure out how to win best of venue going this from here forward. Yeah, good luck on that one.
Now remind me, when did you win that award? Was that 2 years ago or?
2010.
Oh, okay,
So I
okay,
did win
okay.
another award in 2019, which I'll get to that part of history too, I guess, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, from there, then I moved on to actually working at Sony itself. But I actually was working on their content distribution side. So that was just before I started working with you. Um,
Right.
but so I was working on their content distribution systems, onboarding and working with other companies to get them on it. I even built tools to streamline some workflows that other people were doing that ended up falling on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
Because like distributing content to Apple is very different compared to everywhere else. You have to do it Apple's way, which
Yeah.
required building tools to make that easier. So, and that I
Mm-hmm.
think was also the start of me building tools to make people's lives easier.
Right.
But also while doing that, I was actually doing games journalism at the same time. So like I was still involved in gaming, even though I was doing my day job, still working on gaming at night or whenever I had time. Sometimes during like lunch breaks during the day to do my reporting stint or before work started,
Mm-hmm.
working E3, writing editorials, all sorts of things. But like working at like doing game journalism at Dual Shockers really helped too because it helped me just improve like just general writing and writing more like technical papers and stuff, blog
Mm-hmm.
posts, that kind of thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure because of that, like writing the scripts I write for the videos, it's better than it probably would have been if I didn't have that kind of experience. And then also for
Yeah.
them, I built like snippets in code too. Like for some of the big editorials, I learned how to manipulate the HTML in WordPress, yeah, WordPress to actually make really cool backgrounds. So for some of like the reviews, like every once in a while, a review or editorial, I'd do that as well. So you get a
Hmm.
nice visual flair to go with like hopefully good writing, but I don't go back and read those reviews because it's rough. Even thinking
Yeah.
about like the review I wrote freelance for Chad on Persona 4 Gold, I'm like, that review is probably so rough because I just remember snippets in my head. I'm just like, I'm never gonna go look up that review and read it. It's nothing good's gonna happen if I do that because I'm just gonna crawl into a corner and just cry for a few days. Probably stream that. Put good content. Probably get my most views. If only I
Well,
wrote better.
yeah. I mean, I had a small experience in writing reviews myself too. I I helped run a website amongst some of our friends at one point, and I remember writing all that content back then. And I still have one that you could easily find online for the New York Post when I was reviewing
Uh,
the 50 Cent headphones when they first came out. And I pulled that up actually recently, like I think 4 weeks ago, and
so
I was like, man, I had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. I was just kind of like blah blah blah, and these are cool, and compared to Dre Beats, man, 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 man. And I remember my only motivation at the time was like, you could keep the headsets, just write a review about it. I'm like, all right, and I was just like,
so many great games got in that way though,
yeah,
or
yeah,
great
for
just
sure,
stuff in general. Like I
yeah,
think my favorite review that I wrote was on the PS Vita version, I believe, of Earth Defense like Squadron.
okay,
And it's totally like your B movie version of a game, and I totally love that. It just totally just dove totally in. It wasn't trying to be the best graphics. The dialogue was purposely over the top ridiculous. You're fighting giant ants. And it's like there's no real rhyme, reason, or make sense story to it. And I have to admit that's probably one of my favorite games to actually just like write about. And then all of a sudden you build up a bar and you unlock this super like space female warrior character. It's just like this definitely makes zero sense, but I'm all in.
hmm,
Screw. But I think that's probably my favorite review to have actually written.
nice.
But so I mean, yeah, and then from there, that's when you and me started working together.
Yep. And then the rest is history.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I did forget. I also did work freelance, like game development too, like toward the end of my time at XS and a little bit of my time at Sony.
Hmm.
So they actually built a mobile game for iOS and Android in the early days of mobile gaming.
Right.
It was rough then. And then I also helped build like a prototype for like a top-down zombie shooter that just never really panned out into anything.
Hmm.
But so yeah, games have always been there. I mean, even working at Ziff, we were like still next to and involved in games. I mean,
Oh
especially when
yeah.
we had campaigns that were related to usually like some kind of game or software or PC hardware related
Hmm.
company. It's like, hey, why don't we just do this and we do this targeting on these pages? It's like, oh, that's a good idea. It's like, what you doing, media? You're supposed to
Yeah.
write the plans and know this stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we were also part of Ziff when Ziff acquired
Yeah.
IGN, and when that
Still have
happened,
those
obviously,
sunglasses,
oh
especially
yeah,
when we found that box of goodies.
we were very excited and very happy because again, our passions came to us at that moment where now we could work really closely with that team.
Oh,
We didn't so much as we expected, and that's more politics and all that kind of stuff like
yeah.
that. But still, it was nice to know that we had access to that stuff.
Yeah, man. So yeah, and then from there, it's like again at Ziff building tools because almost everywhere I go, I build code, scripts, or tools. So
Hmm.
like built that lovely like web front that like made testing out our ad units easy, made Barb's life a hell of a lot easy because she didn't have to jump between five different tools.
Hmm.
Yeah, man. Good old Barb.
Yeah, she's a trooper. I'm pretty sure she's still there now.
Yeah, man, but at least like they finally threw some more money her way.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, because the risk of her leaving is just you couldn't take that risk. Like she leaves, you're dead in the water.
No, it's like you're burning down
Yeah,
your database of all the knowledge, and
exactly.
then that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, so then after that, ended up still working in advertising, but ended up working in a company that allowed me to focus more on code. But the kind of code I wrote was so it's a dynamic video advertising company, but like the type of code I was writing is very similar to the kind of situations you deal with when building out unique cases and things like that in game development. It's like I'm
Mm-hmm.
dealing with all sorts of kind of data, things like that. Except I actually got to touch code more. But I think the most exciting part was I actually got to build up my department's technical side almost from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was two people already there who were computer science like majors, but like no one was really there to help like push the tech and get tech more in the department forward. Like they relied
Right.
on someone specifically in engineering to do the work for them. And it's just like, yeah, but how long does it take you to get things done? Like 2 to 3 days to get that thing done when we eventually got it in house. It's like, yeah, it's like it adds only one extra day to our process.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but it's like it was really great being able to just change there, use a lot of the lessons I learned. Still trying to deal with salespeople here and there. I was much better at it. They give me headaches, man. Like it's like a
uh,
lot of teeth gritting. It's like, what are you selling? Oh, perfect. I love it. And unfortunately, dealing with situations where like no one's willing to not say no, but at least like find the best solution possible that works for both the client and the company.
mm-hmm.
But again, as I spent more time to, so like growing the department that way, then like almost a year later pretty much being heavily involved in the interview process and then having an opportunity to actually train and groom new employees and teach them some of the lessons I learned throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling old at 30 because everyone in the company around me is like younger than me somehow, even people in higher positions than me. I'm just like, I can't. Like, at least my direct boss was like older than me, but his boss was older than him, and I mean, younger than him, and that never causes good office politics anyway.
Right. Yeah, I feel like just with the type of industry that we're in, that just happens more and more now.
Yeah, I mean, and
Like,
age, it's gonna happen to us no matter what anyway.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, but it was nice to actually make changes to the department, groom people, uh, get kind of tired of things, start exploring options before they brought someone on who allowed me to help grow the department again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Make big changes, actually change my position because unfortunately, technical teams shouldn't be under account management teams or sale heavy customer service teams because two different worlds. And
Yeah.
you know that, but I'll repeat it again. Technical teams and customer service and account management teams should always be separate unless you are a technical account manager or a technical evangelist. Those are the only kinds of groups that are exceptions or allowed because they are still technical that phase out.
Right.
Specific client sales facing people who are not involved in the technical should have a technical liaison who sits with technical groups, but they should
Yep.
not sit together ever, as you know from somewhat recent experience.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's yeah.
when you told me that, I was just like, tale as old as time, song as old as mine. Get tech out of sales.
Yeah. I think that was like one of the last straws in this industry that we were in. Not saying that I would never consider going back,
Yeah,
but it's when you do have to deal with it for 13 plus years, it's time to take a break.
I can agree with you, and I only was in there for like almost seven.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I the
Actually,
thing is,
almost seven.
the amount of time people spend in ad tech, if you go more than 2 or 3 years, that's already a lifetime for a lot of people, and you usually figure out where you want to go from there, or you know within the industry where you want to take yourself. Most people tend to get out, completely and do something
I
else.
got a 5-year anniversary fleece. Wait, no, that was 4 years. I got a 5-year anniversary like jersey or something, and Airbnb gift cards, which I cannot use now, which I'm now upset about.
Do they expire?
No, they shouldn't. But I'm more concerned about Airbnb survival after this.
Well, yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah,
mean, I think
that's
they'll recover long term, but short term, it's not looking too hot.
yeah, but that's one company to add to a list of numerous companies right now. So
Yeah. But yeah, so diving back into my time there, it's like, so yeah, I eventually got a role where I got to do more software engineering work, develop more processes, infrastructure,
hmm
actually be on a lead, even though I had already unofficially been a lead for 2 years before that, and still unofficially a lead many years during and after,
hmm Yep.
which is a funny side note I'll make as we get close to the end of this role, but basically it's just like I got to actually make a job out of just building things to make people's lives easier, essentially, and just like start doing best practice, diving more into code and technologies that I never got to work with. Like I learned a lot just by having to essentially teach myself, because unfortunately, I didn't have the benefit of having anyone really able to groom me along the way. I had to groom myself while teaching other people things they can do better, best practices, which involved me going to a lot of conferences, taking lots of classes and stuff, just so I can kind of skill myself up and get to that point where I was confident that I'm making sure they're learning the right way. Because that
hmm
always became my mentality. It stopped being about me, especially towards the end, and more about them and how I can groom the people around me. And as more and more juniors came in and out, it's like I trained them, did the best I could to help them succeed. At least the ones who leveraged me as best as possible. Ones who didn't, nothing I could do about it.
Right.
Which is just so funny to see that, like, toward the end of my time there, so like our sales engineer left, which he was one of the juniors I trained a year after I started.
Yeah.
And me and him still talk, like work real close to get like we worked real close together anyway when he was sales engineer, because he was like, hey, you know how to manipulate the system. Is there any way you can think of to manipulate the system to make this happen? I was like, well, what if you try this? It's like, ooh, that's a good idea. And then we do that on top of that. It's like, yeah, see, boom, there's the crumb trail. Have at it.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, then when he left, it's like and before that, my VP had left within like a month and a half's time. So it's like they're like all the knowledge is gone, and then one day they finally realized it's like, oh wait, the knowledge has been sitting under our noses all this time, because they realized that I
hmm
knew more than everything. It's like, oh shoot, why didn't anyone tell us this? It's like, because I've been hiding it from management for a long time, because with that knowledge comes shenanigans, and last manager who knew what that I knew stuff and was more technical didn't respect it.
Mm. Okay.
Which is why it's just like I'm just gonna do my well. That was when I was pretty much ready to just call it quits. It's like, yeah, it's time to move on. It's like I've done everything I can here. There's been no growth. There's no opportunity for me to learn more, explore new technologies, or even like really train other people. So the only way for other people to grow is for me to basically get out.
hmm
Then things happen. They moved us from out of her umbrella, gave us our own like VP structure, better manager, because they hired a guy who they didn't let me interview, and he lasted 6 weeks
Okay.
as our director. Which I was like, that's funny. The one guy you don't have me interview because I can't be in that day is the guy who you hire. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Great choice, guys. 6 weeks. 6 week Matt, as I call him.
Nice.
But so yeah, but all that time, the cool part though is I actually got to work with PlayStation. We actually did some cool ads for PlayStation where we'd actually take a lot of their products and the ones that were on sale we'd show, but then we'd have like a hot top sellers list, and we work in terms of dynamically making sure we're targeting like those like groups of those, usually based on genres and other things, to kind of like
Mm-hmm.
really target ads to people who are actually interested in that kind of stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was still rough because there's a lot of things where we needed better learnings and more polish. Um, Fortunately, we also lost the business, which is sad because it was one of the more exciting sides of business, especially from the technical side of figuring out the problems of how to do the stuff we wanted to do. But unfortunately, someone didn't tell a certain group to put those ads live during a holiday season, and
Oh,
then a seller never picked up their calls either. So two
yeesh.
big
Yikes.
no-nos equate lost client.
Right, right.
It's like, yeah, that seller didn't last much longer after that too. It's like, oh, you lost us major business. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
so games were still always there, always involved. And again, as I mentioned before, I always still did the game jam. And like 2019, did the game jam again solo. Actually won an award for actually project managing and completing like actually running it like you would manage a project while actually fully
Mm-hmm.
developing a game at the same time. So the game's called Design Hero. Wait, no, it's called Decor Hero. Wow, it's getting late, but it's called Decor Hero. It's actually on my GitHub, the source code, but then I also have like links to it all over the place, like including on my personal site. But you can definitely find a video of it on my YouTube channel where I actually talk about the game and some of the design ideas. But basically, the base idea was just building something around a really clean and polished mechanic, which that's really the true goal of a great game jam is picking your mechanic, getting it running, and then just polishing the hell out of it the whole time. And my mechanic was shooting furniture out of a gun. Because the theme was like bringing home to where you are, something involving homes and
Yeah.
you and so on and so forth. And I was just like, so I had a few ideas, put them down. Then I wrote one idea. It's like shoot furniture from a gun. And then I wrote one or two more ideas, and I was just like, shoot furniture from a gun. Furniture shot from a gun. Yep. Nothing else matters. It's time to go to bed. I figured out my idea nice and early. It's time to start building this bad boy.
Nice.
And then it was just great because it gave me a good opportunity to actually project manage, because I was already starting to do that stuff too at my job, because
Mm-hmm.
being like one of the two people who's actually building stuff, it really like, well, building stuff dedicated to building stuff. The rest of the team was still building stuff, but they were still responsible for dealing with the day-to-day campaigns on top of stuff they were building. So I was responsible for handling like meetings, building out like a kind of production flow board and things like that, which to this day I'm still learning new things about it. I actually learned about the three ways of DevOps, read the Phoenix Project, heavily read the um, DevOps handbook. Yes, that sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Read about the coaching kata and how you can teach and train other people to like improve and build things. So like still always learning, but now I was learning with a lot more purpose, especially purpose around engineering, and learning that engineering isn't code. That's the misconception a lot of people have. Code is a part of it, but true engineering is a lot more than that. Some weeks you're doing a lot more architecture planning, process development, sorting and stuff like that. In other weeks, yeah, you're coding probably 90% of your time, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like all that, and it led to that lovely game which won another award. And shooting
Nice.
furniture from a gun.
Oh yeah, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I added other features too where you can actually color the furniture by shooting little paint pellets at it and it'll change the color of the furniture. Then
Nice, nice.
someone who was playing was like, "Man, I sure wish I could shoot the flooring textures at the furniture." And I'm just like, "And I have a V2 stocked up here because actually, like, that was the mechanic idea. My full big pie in the sky idea was to build like a kind of almost puzzle-like game where you'd have to put furniture in certain spots by shooting it with the gun. And you're
Mm-hmm.
only given like limited versions of each piece of furniture, and you can always like remove it and it'll refill that furniture piece. But Like, so if you're doing a living room, it's like, well, you have to put this in a certain spot, this and this and this in a certain spot, and how close you get it within like the target area, decide what percentage of score you get.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get real aggressive and you just like shoot and it bounces off real far, like you may get a 50% score because it's 50% in the target area, but which I'm
Right.
spilling all the design ideas, but whatever. I came up with it. If you want to work together on it, some other developers, I'm cool with that. I like side projects when I have time for it, which
Mm-hmm.
isn't as much now that I have this and another like project I'm helping on with, which that one's kind of cool. I can't talk too much about it because there's still a lot of early legalities going on, but basically, what I can talk about is I actually built out a shop system for them as one of my first tasks. So built
Mm.
out a shop system dealing with inventory and like adding those items to the player's inventory and things like that. It's nice because a lot of the things that I've been like brushing up with and doubling down on in this time with Unity,
Mm-hmm.
um, like it all makes sense actually using it in an application because Unity's created ways that you can do things more in a more complicated code fashion, but in terms of performance, the performance rewards are just like tenfold. So
Mm.
especially if you're developing for mobile, you want to have your game perform better. And some of the techniques I've learned have helped with that and makes it easier for designers because that's still a mentality I have. If a designer's working in Unity, I want to make their job as easy as possible. And there's a lot of structures built out now where a designer can make something without having to write a single bit of code, and that makes me happy.
Right.
So, and that leads us to here in this channel where on my YouTube, especially, I'm trying to teach people more about game mechanics, game development. I have other ideas in the works, like bringing in some content around like games, like and just like games and reviews in regards to like a programmer's point of view,
Mm-hmm.
showing some cool products that can help make things easier, not just games, but just make things in general.
Right.
And just kind of use as a way of build a community to help other people learn more about game mechanics. I mean, I do stream, but as you've probably seen on some of my streams, I actually talk about game development and game design things while in there. Like
Mm-hmm.
yesterday in Mass Effect, I got to a point where there's a bunch of crates set up in a way that screams firefight. Like literally looking at it, it's just like, yeah, there's going to be a firefight here eventually. There's
Yeah.
just a no-brainer. And then it's like I get to it, the point, and it's like, yep, there's the firefight, and then I get a game over immediately after that. Because
Nice.
like I realized in Mass Effect that if you don't put any skill set into sniper rifle when it's one of your main skill sets, your sniper rifle it's just all this the whole time. So I'm trying to snipe people, bullets are like 10 meters off, and I'm just like, I now have to get into a gunfight up close with a pistol, and these dudes are at least 10 levels above me. Nothing good's gonna happen, so pretty much got a game over there. But then the second time I snuck to my car and I just started running as many people over as possible, got a
Mm-hmm.
level up, ran away in the car, boosted up my sniper, and then sniped the rest of them out. But that goes so far off the point I was trying to make, which is I was, but during my streams, I tried to talk about like game mechanics too and like level design, and that was just one example of how like in certain games they build specific arenas or levels that scream, "You're gonna fight something here." Like
Mm-hmm.
you run into it a few times in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you probably haven't even. Well, you might have realized it in some points, but there's some places where it's set up to be an arena, and you probably haven't even realized it yet. Like the one big one was actually yesterday when you fought a certain horsey enemy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
If you
yeah, yeah,
notice, there was a
yeah.
certain thing right in the middle of that
Yep.
arena for
Mm-hmm.
specific reasons.
Yep. Yep. And I learned really quickly on how to utilize it.
Oh yeah, when lots of things are called in the air from a specific angle, it's like you want me to hide behind this thing because you put it in such a way that like it blocks it perfectly.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, but that leads me to here and today. So trying just to share my knowledge, groom people, mentor where I can.
Mm-hmm.
All this while maybe potentially getting another gig directly in game development or just like finding time to double down on my own personal projects because I have so many ideas and baseline like prototypes for projects done. It's just like finding the time to sit down and focus on those. But it's crazy too because I make so many things now for the channel that I'm just like I can literally just take half of those, put them together, and I make a game.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, if you want to check out Paul's videos on game mechanics and all that stuff like that, or the insides of games, I put a description. I put his link in the description if you're watching on YouTube. But you could just go to YouTube and type in Paul programs, and you'll easily find it. I believe you release a video once a week. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm
Or you try to?
well, I was bad about it. I was trying to, and then life happened and things happened, so
Yeah.
it became at least twice a month, which is close to every other week.
Okay.
But now I'm back on the grind. Like I've released like two video. Well, I've released more than two a week, or well, I mean, podcast doesn't really count, but I release at least once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Threw a trailer in for this game that I had you try out for Game Jam. I did.
Yep.
So I also throw some trailers to some of the stuff I build as well. And then the big thing is this week I actually just released a video on my first unboxing and then breaking down game mechanics and then talking about like the code behind it on Tamagotchi.
Look at that. It's a three-in-one video.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So yeah, first
Nice.
part did a quick unboxing with some lovely don't need this, throw it to the side sound effects, which is great when you have like the right floor for it. Like if I had
Mm.
carpets, that just would have never made the sound. But I have like tiles, so when throwing it, it just makes that nice, no, or just like the nice box hitting the floor sound. So that's
Yeah.
always good. And then just started doing more like actual. Well, in this one too, I also did actual coding, so people can see some of the thought process, how you would actually code mechanics for if you want to make your own like pet simulator.
Okay.
So, and I also have the link to that code on GitHub, which is on the video description. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Cool. So to close things off, because we have already reached the 2 hour point
yeah,
here. 'Cause given that your I guess journey pretty much centered all around gamings and video games and games stuff like that, do you recall what the one game that really opened your eyes and be like, yeah, this is why I love what I do, or this is why I love what I'm into?
the one game. So, there's a lot of games that made me realize it, but I'm actually gonna give you one game, and then there was a book that actually
Okay.
doubled down on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, there it is.
It was the game for me. Like I played bits and parts of three, but I never really owned it because being
Mm-hmm.
broke, you have six Super NES games, and that's pretty much your entire collection.
Right.
And thankfully, like things improved for my family around the time where like Final Fantasy VII came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember they had to open it at Toys R Us because some copies didn't have the third disc.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
So they had
Yeah,
the
that
they
was
so they
crazy.
had us open it up there to make sure it was good. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, my game's there. Give me. And it's funny too because I used to more often than not watch my older sister play games and shadow her and get tell her what to do, and didn't really
Mm-hmm.
have my hands on the stick as much.
Mm.
And then, but with seven, it's like I really got more hands on the stick. I remember like one Thanksgiving, I literally just spent most of the day going all the way through Midgar, and it's just it was seven, and that's the game that like really made me appreciate storytelling in games, what you could actually do with games.
Mm-hmm.
Really turned me into a JRPG head. That was the game, though Chrono Trigger pretty much sealed the deal because I went back and played Chrono Trigger after seven.
Got it. Nice.
But that and then the book that actually really made me interested in game development, game design was The Secrets of Game Design, second edition, released by Bratty Games.
Oh, okay. I think I know that one. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
big, thick one. It had all sorts of developers from different fields talking about like the work that went into it, some of their things they remember, some postmortems. I
Mm-hmm.
think was it Nomura? No, it was Sakaguchi. Sakaguchi was in it. The Gooch.
The Gooch.
He wrote like a segment, and it was just like, yeah, because it was came out after I played seven too, like 2 or 3 years after I played seven. It's just like, yeah, like he gets it. This is why like games are so interesting because of the fact you can tell stories, you can do cool things, like you can bring people involved, like involve people, and
Hmm.
like games like Uncharted just reinforce that, but they reinforce it in a different way. It's like with Uncharted, it's like you can tell story through gameplay. Like you can make the story and gameplay so interwoven, which they've gotten so good at it, Naughty Dog. Unless Last of Us 2 leaks before it comes out.
Yeah, something I briefly spoke about on Monday's show. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that they're not having a good month because of all the like articles that came out about the crunch they deal with, and then that
Yeah.
it's rough. I mean, I understand, but it's true. AAA needs to get away from crunch, and part of it is improving some of their processes, which I
Hmm.
saw an interesting talk on GDC because they switched to online videos this year, where they he talked about like finding ways to improve processes, which will improve throughput, which improves quality and everything else.
Hmm.
And like he talked about the three ways and the Phoenix Project, which made me like to talk even more because I had read it like, well, I just finished reading the second book written by the same author, Phoenix Project, but I
Yeah.
had also finished rereading Phoenix Project like a year earlier anyway. But it's like just an idea. It's just like, yeah, it's like if you build the processes out right, find the smart ways to automate testing and build creation, some of these things which give people headaches because they're not working off the same development environments. It's harder to get test builds out. Like that's the kind of stuff that could help make a little bit more difference because it could help cut down crunch because you don't have people waiting around and then all of a sudden it'll say, all right, go. Like we got your build, now you can go. It's just like no, now everyone can always be working kind of in sync and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Naughty Dog not having a good time.
No, not really. But no, that was great. I mean, again, I hope that provided a lot of insight for you guys about Paul, where he comes from, kind of more about our relationship and the stuff that we're into and that we love to talk about. Just having this conversation here kind of gave me ideas of like what we could do for future episodes where we can talk about more about like what it is like to be actually within the game industry and working behind the scenes because
Hush, child, you're gonna
I
ruin
feel
next
like
week's surprise.
oh, I'm sorry. Um, but I think it's just good to know, especially from two people who were in it. You guys, you see the end product, and then either you like it or you don't, or you complain about it. You hear the articles that comes out from time to time about the former employees and this and that, but you don't really know what it takes to kind of be in the thick of it, and that's something that like Paul and I and maybe other future guests
Yeah.
could like kind of unravel a little bit. I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not. It is a grind.
And it's definitely
Um,
not a straightforward path. I mean,
it's not.
sometimes you also have
Yeah.
to take your fate into your own hands too, because
Yeah.
if you depend too much on like, especially the bigger companies, which are a
Mhm.
lot harder to get into, especially if you're trying to get into certain groups, it's like you
Mhm.
really do have to take your fate into your own hands and just make your own way in, because it
Yeah.
really is a catch-22. Bigger companies want that experience, but if you the only way to get that experience is to get in, but they won't let you in unless you have that experience.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, like, it's definitely not a straight road, but there's also so many associated paths to gaming too, which we'll definitely talk more about. Like, well, surprise, next week we're going to be talking about like the game industry and our involvement, feelings, and thoughts about it. Which, yeah, that's actually the main segment for next week. So enjoy
Well,
that.
there you go. A little preview of what's to come.
I
And
didn't share that doc with you either.
minds, the minds are very similar. The minds. But you should also like keep it in mind too. Our involvement in the industry is way in a different period too. So a lot of things have changed since then, but it's nice to kind of reminisce on how things were. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that have not really changed, but who knows?
Yeah.
But at least you get to see a little peek behind the curtain of like how it is to kind of produce the products that you guys like to play at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
And yeah,
Cool.
well, that's pretty
Uh,
much it.
yeah, yeah. No, we're. I think it's safe to say we're past time. But no, this was a great talk, great conversation, and I'm sure we're gonna have more in future episodes. But let's cue the music.
Boom.
And I'll say it one more time. Cue the music.
Boom.
Uh, one more time. Cue the music.
One
Uh,
more time, we're gonna
oh,
celebrate. Oh
oh,
yeah,
I heard it.
all right, we'll get this
There it
dance
is.
on.
So, Paul, what do you want to plug? What you got going on for the rest of the week?
All right, everybody, I will be actually streaming this Friday, but it's gonna be one of my sit and chill streams. So it's either gonna be Destiny or maybe I'll pop open that Sakura Wars, and you guys can see me through weird
Ooh,
waifu simulators live.
nice.
And also, if you want to check out any of my other content, I'm here on Twitch as well under Paul Programs. Or if you're watching YouTube, I'm also here on YouTube under Paul Programs. And if you're interested in checking out my tweets, Paul Programs as well. If you want to keep up with what's going on and so forth. And any GitHub stuff you can actually find on my YouTube channel, which will lead you to each of the different projects shown in each video.
Nice. And as for me, tomorrow I am back on the Final Fantasy VII Remake grind.
Ew.
I believe I am in chapter 12, I think. But
Good
it's going to
point.
be part 9. What's
Good
that?
point. Good point to be at.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm totally excited. So it's going to be part 9 of my initial playthrough. And then on Friday, the LOWKEY GEEK live show comes back. So definitely check that out. The times I have listed in the description below. But until next time, for Paul, I am Renee, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Peace.
Bye.